So, what's the best way to describe this show?
He's Squidward, you're Squidward, I'm Squidward! Are there any other Squidwards I should know about? Meow.
Hello and welcome, KamenRider Blackman, and today I will be giving my first impressions on Super Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity. So, this show, I've been meaning to talk about this show since late last year. Like, by the time scans and everything came out for it, I was preparing for my Magic Ranger review. Like, the whole week, recording, editing, like, just preparing to upload it within, like, 2 days. Well, that's not true. Like, one day I was recording, the next couple of days I was editing, getting all 4 videos together to upload. I had a lot of stuff to do then. And then I did mean to put out another video, which, did I get around to putting it out? I don't remember. But I've been meaning to talk about this show because a lot of stuff has happened. I did not keep up with the press conferences, do a bio. I didn't do a video where a new show's coming out, so there'd be some information for us to learn about them. I did not do any of that. So I'm going into this show blind, and I watched all 7 episodes. I have not watched episode 8 yet, but we are here now to give my first thoughts. Since right now there's some discourse on the show, some people honestly just not liking it and just wanting Sentai to come back and would just lambast this show until it does. Okay, first off, we're only 8 episodes in. Chill out. And I don't think the show is horrible. Like, nothing about this show, in my opinion, so far, as I'm only 7 episodes in. Nothing. Everything I've found so far is pretty decent. I don't dislike anything. Everything's just new. I don't dislike nothing. Like, everything here is pretty fine. I'd say about average, but I don't know, nothing hateable. Shoot, let's just get into it right away of what is this show. It's pretty much a new version of Gavan with more side characters. To which, spoiler if you haven't seen the original Gavan show, there's the 2 main characters were, actually no, the only main characters there were to focus on were 2 people in this show. With how many different Gavons there are so many more. There's Infinity with his crew, Bushido with his chief, Illuminous with her co-workers. So many side characters. And for whatever, and a comic relief duo. Did this show really need a Bulk and Skull? I'm always trying to get away from Sentai so much, and they're just trying to remind us now of Power Rangers. But yeah, just so many side characters. Which brings me to another aspect of this show brings me to my first aspect of this show that I like. I like that this show exclusively touches on multiverse theory, with how we'll travel to different universes for Imorgear cases. Imorgears being the collectibles for this show that in evil hands could cause trouble. So, very W-esque with how the collectibles of this show can be used by the good guys and the bad guys. Emo being short for emotion, which I'm actually curious now about the main 3 and the specific emotions that they're assigned. With Infinity, he gets anger or rage, I think. Bushido gets sadness, and Luminous is happy. To which all is supposed to reflect the characters, which is honestly an interesting choice, especially having rage. that just makes me wonder a bit more about Reiji because I don't know, like, well, they went for a pretty, they went for what's the best way to say this? Like, for emotion, where emotions go, you'd think for the main protagonist they'd go for something like excitement or something, but no, specifically like anger and rage, which apparently, for what we'll see, Reiji has a lot of that. Going back to what I said about the amount of characters in this show, one thing I've heard, and I heard this last night in like a live stream, this show is apparently going to be like 30 episodes or so, which I don't know if that's fact, but it's something that's out there that the show would be a bit shorter and around 30 episodes. That's a choice, like, especially even now, like 30 episodes is pretty. The halfway point is just wow. But don't get me wrong, like 30 is, I don't know, like it'd be different if it was like 39, almost 40 episodes, but like 30 is just, it's like any Neo Saban Power Rangers season could be like 30 or so episodes because 20 is so short. But like, to which brings me to another thing. Comparing this to other shows or franchises like Power Ranger seasons with how shorter they've gotten with like 20 episodes, and Ultraman is like the only franchise I could think of that can actually pull off shorter seasons. For this show to be about 30 episodes is, it feels like it's kind of a test drive to see how it'll do, because I don't know, a show being that short from my experience is always never so intentional. Like what I said, like 39 episodes is like close to 40, so certain shows are actually able to pull it off. And like, shoot, look back to like show a KamenRider. Like after, I want to say after V3, like X was 35 episodes, Amazon was 24 episodes, but to be fair, in Amazon's case, it was getting canceled. And Stronger was like 39 episodes. So, and I don't think any one of those shows were intended to be so short. Because 30 is like, it's like at that halfway point. And right now we're on episode 8, so the show has the next 22 episodes that hit the ground running. Since up to now, they've just been setting up their lore and pretty much just taking things slow at their own pace, which isn't bad. It's a good setup and all, but I don't know, for 30 episodes, that's just wow. And so, what do I really like about the show so far, or what do I dislike about the show so far? I don't really dislike anything. All the characters are pretty fine. Like, nothing too special. Like, everyone's pretty fine. Like, Setsuna's fine. I like Koto and Kiki together. Setsuna is an interesting case because he's an AI human, so he doesn't understand emotions, but he does understand loyalty. And his second episode with Infinity is honestly my favorite. To which brings me to another thing. I like that Infinity knows when to take a back seat. Like, he's the titular character, but he knows when to let other characters have the spotlight. I love that. Because Infinity's thing is he goes off to different universes for E-More cases because he has the clearance to do so that he can solve them. But said other universes will have their own Gavons there. So while they work together, the Gavon of said universe would deal with the monster, while if there's like a bigger threat out there that comes along, Infinity will literally handle it with his mech, and that's how we split up the focus. Like, I like that. It's like, that's honestly the best way to describe it. Like, okay, the focus is going to be all on, say, Bushido and Luminous while they handle the Monster of the Week, while Infinity basically supports them in other ways. I like that. And it's especially nice because, and this is just an interesting detail too, like, Infinity is the only officer with the clearance to travel different dimensions. Which brings me to all their professions too. Like, Infinity is a secret cop under the guise of working in the Galactic Police's records division. Though why is it secret? I don't know. I hope we'll learn about that in the future. And so who else? Bushido is a police captain, and Luminous is a forensic scientist assistant. So it's nice that they are all Gavan, and it's nice that they're all in police related professions. So it's all not the same thing. And so, actually, I want to talk about Reiji for a bit now, like Gavan Infinity, because I do like him. He's the standard titular character protagonist, but from episode 7, he apparently does have more layers to him that I want to see, because it's something between him and Death Gavan and his former mentor who was killed. And holy fuck. Episode 7 with Death Gavan. This episode played with my emotions because, honest to God, I thought they were going to kill off the Colonel just for him to have been saved at the end. Like, that's how much of a threat Death Gavan is. And for the moment, they dropped the secret identity thing with the crop cops there, which brings up, well, I'm thinking again of the whole secret identity thing. Why is it so secret? Like, does it need to be secret? Because literally to access the mechs, like, well, Megazord mode, it needs authorization from, like, every high-ranking commander. To which, by the way, what a hindrance, because that could mean anyone could disapprove, and it would be like a whole debate or whatnot if a mech could be used while a city's getting destroyed or whatnot. But it's just so much more than we know and that we see, and it's kept under wraps for whatever reason. To which, by the way, I actually want to talk about the mech for a bit too, since I just brought it up. The Cosmo Gavarian, I believe if that's what it's called. It's a bit simple. It's not egregious. Like, the face is a bit simple, but meh. I don't hate it too much. It's pretty fine. Like, you think actually, I don't really care about asymmetry. I was gonna say, like, the trigger on the shoulder, that honestly doesn't bother me because it's a gun turning into a mech. But then again, now that's just reminding me of Lupin Magnum from Lupat, and how it was a gun that turned into a mech, but done a bit better here, especially with how it hides the trigger on the back. But yeah, shoot, another thing about the mech that's interesting, and a nice, like, break away from Sentai, we don't unlock new mechs or anything, like different attachments and whatnot for the mech to use. Like, no, they just have them already, which makes sense because, well, they're all cops, and these are all different tools in their arsenal, so why wouldn't they have that right off the bat? And they're all useful in different situations. Best example I could think of would be the crane one, for when trying to rescue that one spacecraft that was close to falling into a cavus. And it took Gavon, Luminous, and Infinity's crew to accurately save the passengers still on the ship and bring them back up to safety. And that just now making me realize I've yet to talk about my two favorite episodes so far. So far, two episodes that I do like are Luminous's debut episode, because the criminals they were after were poachers. Well, the criminals of the episodes were, it was one criminal that was after poachers. And then the other episode, titled Blade and Bullet, I love that title. It was where Bushido's police chief was kidnapped and he was going to break the rules, basically not follow protocol to go and save her, with Reiji's help, which I really liked. That was awesome. Lastly, before I end the video, one big thing that I do like from these first 7 episodes, there's no main villain in this show, or maybe not yet, but yeah, every episode we're not fighting against some organization. No, it's crime. There are no monsters of the week, there are criminals of the week. This show is episodic, and I like that. If you've ever seen any episode of, say, Law and Order, Deca Ranger, or even Blue Bloods, like, cop shows happen more on a case-by-case basis. Watch an episode of Cops, then watch another episode of Cops. There's no, serialization. And that does make sense because, cops don't spend all their time against one big, bad guy. They're out fighting criminals. And I like that this show is showing how criminals could be just as devastating as main villains. Not just because when Imorgears get out of control, they'll produce monsters, but also produce portals to the Maku dimension, which, if you have seen the original Gavan, it is definitely a thing. And I like that sometimes we'll have fights in the Maku dimension and where we won't have fights in the Maku dimension. Honestly, because someone was smart enough to think, just shoot the portal and blow it up. Nice. But, so yeah, a lot of things are interesting so far. And just so I don't forget, Gavant. That episode was, holy crap, filler. It was filler, man. When's Jiraiya coming in? Anywho, so, what do I think of Gavan Infinity so far? It's a decent start. Like, who knows how long the show is going to be, but there's nothing egregious so far. It's a pretty solid start to Project R.E.D. So, episode 8 is out this weekend, or episode 9, one of the two. Either way, I am going to want to watch this show, just so I can get caught up on everything and review it whenever it's finished. I still have to get caught up on Zets so I can review that show. So, with that said, thank you guys for watching. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share this video, tell your friends about KamenRider Blackman. Tell me what you all think about Gavan Infinity so far. This has been my first thoughts on the show, as it's very new. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. Finally, they are. I'm only 7 episodes in, so let's see what more there is. So, I've already said my ending outro phrase, so stay trippy. Please like and share.